Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to our very last video on Chapter 3, which is your practice test, your second sheet, your practice test. This one says, what is the value of 3, starting at question 1, in the power 4 cubed called? The answer is, it's called an exponent. This is so easy, this one. Question B, what is the coefficient in this expression? There's something we never even talked about, did we? So your coefficient exists right here. And we said before, a negative sign outside the brackets means the opposite of. What do you multiply a power by to get its opposite? What number? Negative 1. So therefore, that negative sign really represents negative 1. So your coefficient in the expression, what's negative 3? What's that called if I wanted you to define that? It's the base. What's 5 called? Power. And the coefficient outside the brackets, which multiplies the power, is actually a negative 1. Question 3. What expression is represented by 3 squared to the power 4? So remember, 3 squared is 3 times 3. And if I multiply that by itself to an exponent of 4, I'm going to actually write it 4 times. So it's 3 squared multiplied by itself 4 times, which is right here. It exists as itself in question C. Question 4, what is the expression, or what expression is equivalent to 5 times 4 squared? Remember, it's the power of 2, or the product of 2 numbers to an exponent, which means I could reallocate it, which means it could be written as this. Do you see that written anywhere? Do you see the reallocation written anywhere? Right, it's right there. So what is the expression equivalency? D. Question 5, what is negative 7 cubed times negative 7 to the 5 divided by negative 7 squared? When you multiply 2 powers, Andrew, that have the same base but different exponents, what do? You keep the base and add your exponents. And Andrew, what do you do when you have 2 powers that you divide? Correct. So we're going to end up with A, negative 7 as a base to the exponent of 6 as a single power. Question 6, evaluate. Here we have a BEDMAS question. The first thing I'm going to do is brackets. 7 taken 2 is 5, so 5 cubed plus 48 divided by negative 2 in brackets to the exponent of 4. Just did my brackets first. Simplify my powers second. Grab my eraser here. What's negative 5 cubed? 125. What is negative 2 to the exponent of 4? Negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. Positive 16. Once we have that, I'm going to do my division next. 125 plus, how many 16s in 48? 3. Which means 125 plus 3 gives us B, 128, as a simplified expression. Question 7 says, the expression 10 to the 5 multiplied by 10 to the 5 to the 5, written only as one exponent, would be, if you use your brain and think of it this way, if this was the question, you would have then taken it and reallocated that 5 to both, giving you this as an answer. So the answer is, that is the same thing, but written using only one exponent. Question 8, the expression 5 to the power of 6 divided by 8 to the power of 6 written, same thing. This is division. So I can write 5/8 with the exponent of 6, or alternatively, I could have written this. Either way, it's the same answer. 5 divided by 8 outside of 6, or 5/8 to the exponent of 6, written using only one exponent. Question 9, 4 to the exponent of 4 multiplied by 4 to the exponent of invisible 1 would be 4 times 4 times 4 times 4, which is this one right here, multiplied by 4, which is this one right here, square brackets divided by 4 times 4, which would be this one right here, 4 times 4. And evaluate it. So this would be 4 to the exponent of 5. Oh, 4 to the exponent of 5. Oh, that's not. That's 5 to the exponent of 5. 4 to the exponent of 5 divided by 4 squared. Without simplifying anything, I know it's going to be 4 cubed because I know my power laws. And therefore, 4 cubed is 4 times 4 times 4, which is 64. Question 10. The formula for the volume of the cylinder is volume equals the area of the base. Since the base of a cylinder is a circle, multiplied by the height of the prism, right there. Find V for a cylinder with a radius of 3 and a height of 6.4. So, volume equals pi r squared times h, 3.14. Radius is 3 squared, multiplied by the height, which is 6.4. We have this bed mass question. We're going to do exponents first. 3.14 multiplied by 3 squared, which is not 6, it's 9. Multiplied by 6.4. Now we just have the string of 3 multiplications. You grab your calculator and say, calculator, what is pi times 9 times 6.4? And the calculator says 180.864. Now, question, what kind of units is it? If it's volume and the side length and it's centimeters, are we using centimeters squared or centimeters cubed? Correct. Volume is always expressed in cubic units, not square units. But it does say express your answer to a nearest tenth of a centimeter, which means it rounded to 1 decimal place, a tenth. Will that be 180.8 or 180.9? So I'm going to say volume is approximately equal to 180.9 cubic centimeters. A skydiver free falls before opening the parachute. What distance would the skydiver fall during 7 seconds of free fall if distance equals 4.9 t squared? Well, there's the formula again. We just used it in the last video. D equals 4.9 multiplied by t squared, or 4.9 multiplied by 7 seconds squared, or 4.9 multiplied by 49. 4.9 multiplied by 49 is 4.9 multiplied by 49, 240.1. Distance equals this. So therefore, after 7 seconds of free fall, not accounting for wind resistance or air resistance, I don't think, because the way that guy's going, it's going to slow him down because there's more air molecules hitting his body, thus causing the acceleration of his body to not be the same as if he was pointed straight down at the earth and cutting through the wind like a hot knife through butter. Science. Skip 12. Go on to 13. The prime factorization of 243 is 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. Write 243 as the product of 2 powers as many ways as possible. So 3 to the 1 multiplied by 3 to the 4 would be one of them. 3 squared multiplied by 3 cubed would be another. 3 to the 0 multiplied by 3 to the 5 would be another one. And I believe that is the only way you have it, except for, of course, if you reversed it, but that's just being technical. There's 3 ways to write it, those ones there. And technically, you could go, if we talked about it, you could actually have this if you wanted to. Okay? And you could actually have infinite numbers of product of 2 powers if you wanted to. Question 14, the formula estimating the volume of wood in a tree is volume equals 0.05 hc squared. The volume V is measured in cubic meters. The height, H, I'll use a smaller one here, H is the trunk circumference, and C is, I got that backwards, the height in, so the height, I did do that wrong. take this, shrink this back down. Let's see how I do that. Can I do that? No, I'm not going to. Right here, h. The height is h, and the circumference is c. Okay, so let's take this information and let's substitute it in our formula. So I'm going to write v equals 0.05 or 5% of the height multiplied by the circumference squared. What is the volume of wood with a trunk circumference of 2.3? So that's going to be my C. Trunk circumference is C. So 0.05 and a height of 32. So H is going to be 32. The circumference will be 2.3. So when I substitute that in, circumference 2.3, the height is 32. And there's my h. Substitute it now using BEDMAS. Do my exponents first. 0.05 multiplied by 32 multiplied by 2.3 squared. 2.3 squared is 5.29. Now we just have multiplication left. 0.05 multiplied by 32 multiplied by 5.29 equals 8.464, which is the volume without rounding it, and since it needs it rounded to the nearest tenth of a meter, or 8.5 cubic meters of volume, roughly. Is there a last question? Is there one more? Two more. Nabil made an error simplifying the following expression. Explain his mistake. So we started with division. He got that one right. He started with addition. Poor Nabib. His first mistake came on the very first thing he did. What Nabib thought he could do is the sum of two numbers. He thought there was a rule somewhere that said you can allocate those exponents to both 5 and 3. But that's wrong. You can do it if it's multiplication. Yes. You can do if it's division. Yes. But you cannot do it for sum or differences, because let's just double check. If this was true, and I took 5 plus 3 squared, and let's say I didn't use exponent laws and just simplified that, what would I expect to get as a standard form answer? If I simplified that, what would I get? No, 64, sorry, 64. I get 64, agreed? But if I look at this, what's 5 squared? What's 3 squared? Is 25 plus 9 the same thing as 64? No. So that rule, that law that Nabil thought he was doing correctly actually was incorrect. You can't reallocate those exponents to the sum of two numbers, and therefore he was wrong. So his mistake was here. What he should have had was 3 to the exponent of 4, that's right, plus 8 to the exponent of 2, or 81 plus 64, or 145 in standard form. And finally, your last question is your bacterium, which definitely is on your test. We're not going to do this part right here because we're just going to use our formula. Okay, so our exponential growth is S multiplied by R to the exponent of T. Every 24 hours, they are going to triple. So, after 9 days, our starting bacteria is 300. Our rate of change is tripling, which is 3. After 9 days, since it triples every day, we're going to have exponent of 9 here. When we simplify that, 300 times 3 cubed, I'm going to do my 3 cubed first. 3 to the exponent of 9 is a big number. Multiplied by the original 300 bacterium, there are 5,904,900 bacterium after 9 days. How many were there 24 hours ago? Explain your reasoning. So if I think about this, 24 hours ago would mean that that is just an exponent of 3, which means a third is going to be diminished by a factor of 3. It's 3 times less than it was, so it's going to be a third less 24 hours ago. And if I look at that, if I just make sure, then if I go 3 to the exponent of 8 instead of 9, because it's 24 hours ago, I multiply that by 300, that is going to be a third of 5,904,000, because I know that, because if I multiply it by 3, I get the same answer. So it's a third less.